Well, hello, and welcome back to that thing we like to call Curlis Mania, where we talk all things pop, rock, and prog. And before I do anything else, we are here to talk a little bit of prog. I don't know, some people call this band prog. They're prog in certain ways. So, I guess the prog thing, we'll get into that later. I'm already getting off on a tangent. But the first things first, before I do anything else, I'd like to introduce on his debut on the channel, Mr. Trannon Goble. How are you today, Trannon?
I'm great. How are you doing, Tom?
Doing well, man. Great to have you on the channel.
Yeah, great to be here, and I appreciate the invite.
Absolutely. Well, it's
Looking
funny
forward to
because
this one.
yeah, definitely. Because I know Trannon's a Pink Floyd guy, and he has his own channel. And check if you haven't checked it out, you need to check it out. He does a lot of rankings, and it's funny because I discovered his channel, and then it was like serendipity because like then he literally like day later he commented on one of my videos, and I was like, wait a minute, is that the same guy? And sure enough, and then he said, by the way, you look like Better Call Saul. So I was like, I love that. So anyway, but so we had this sort of mutual admiration thing going on. So finally I knew I could tell from his videos, and I just could tell that he was a big Pink Floyd guy. He just, the way he did his Pink Floyd ranking, he knew a lot about the band. And I was like, okay, well, I want to do a Pink Floyd, so I'm gonna ask him. And sure enough, I was lucky. He said okay.
Absolutely.
So here we are. Here we are. Um, so anyway, we are here today. What are we here to do today? Oh yeah, we are here to talk about two seminal records by Pink Floyd. Um, Atom Heart Mother from 1970 versus Meddle from 19 oop, backwards. Meddle from 1971. Two really, I mean, just excellent records in my opinion. I love these records, and it's hard to put my finger on why, but we're gonna dig into that. We're gonna have plenty of time to do that. Um, so before we, yeah, one more thing, Trannon, what was your first experience? I always like to ask people this. What was your first experience with Pink Floyd? What was the first time you were like, man, who is this band? And I really like this band. When was the first time?
I was actually riding in a truck with my cousin in Georgia, and he was playing it was a cassette tape of Pink Floyd The Wall, and the song Comfortably Numb came on, and I was automatically taken by the song. And I asked him, who is this? Because we normally would listen to like Van Halen or AC/DC or some of those groups like that, hard rock. But Floyd, when he played that, it was just something completely different. And I really, wanted to hear more. So I bought the album, and I really enjoyed The Wall. But then when the second album I purchased was A Delicate Sound of Thunder,
Mhm.
which was the live recording from A Momentary Lapse of Reason tour. And I thought, man, this sounds different. But it was so cool. And then later on, of course, I've developed a love for them. Got Momentary Lapse of Reason, and then later the Division Bell came out, and so I just started collecting all this Floyd and the Shine On box set and all this, and just there was a period of time for about a year that's all I listened to was Pink Floyd, nothing else.
Yeah.
And so I just became, I guess, obsessed with them to an extent. And they've been my favorite band ever since.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, it's very true with me too. They kind of creep up on you. Like all of a sudden you realize how much you're liking this. Like, oh, wait a minute, I want more. And
That's true.
yeah, and there's just something about their music that's very sinuous. It gets in your head, and you just, and like you said, you could get into a Pink Floyd mode where it's like you're listening to Floyd for like a month.
Yes. And nothing else, just
And you don't
that.
mind. It's like, oh, it's all
Yeah.
good. But you're right. It's interesting how like, the whole, you kind of feel the difference. Like you're talking about how like you're listening to The Wall, which is kind of Roger dominated, and then you're
Mhm.
listening to Delicate Sound of Thunder, which is all Gilmour. And it's like, is this the same? Like, wow, this is
Totally
a
different.
little different. Yeah. Yeah. So the intensity is a little different. But But anyway, so what I'm going to do is we're going to jump into this battle here now, but I'm going to give a little bit of backdrop, just a real quick, nothing real long, just a real quick kind of backdrop as to heading into Atom Heart Mother. So the band, post Syd Barrett, obviously everyone knows the Syd Barrett story. They lose their leader essentially, and their guiding light and their songwriter. They have to figure a way forward from there, right? So they're like, okay, we're going to figure out a way to continue as a band. And Roger really becomes kind of the driving force. And they recruit Dave Gilmour, obviously. He comes into the band and they start making records that are a little different. Like the first taste of that is Saucerful of Secrets, right? Where they do these longer drawn out pieces that are more like mood pieces at times than these short kind of 3 minute childlike songs that Syd was doing, right? Psychedelia, English psychedelia kind of stuff. Um, so they're trying to find a way forward, and they're sort of they have some growing pains, right? They're going forward, but they're kind of grasping at what to do next. And Pink Floyd was always known as this crazy space rock psychedelia. They're really different, they're really wild. So I think they had this in their mind that they always had to be different and they always had to come out with something crazy and on the edge. So they did this, they were kind of doing some soundtracks here and there, and then they made this album called Umaguma in 1969. I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but they made this double album called Umaguma in 1969, and they kind of did they was the height of their experimentation, and basically they were trying to figure out what are they going to do, and they did a live album, a live disc on one album was live, and then the next album was all studio, but the studio stuff was all, Roger, you do a song, you do a side, and then Rick, you do a side, and Dave, you do a side, and it kind of it has moments. Believe me, there's moments on Umaguma that are great, but you can kind of tell they're still kind of figuring things out and kind of trying to move forward, and so they then do a soundtrack for a movie called Zabriskie Point, and it's a lot of like little sound bites, and this guy kind of wanted them to re-record "Careful with That Axe, Eugene," basically, but they ended up doing a bunch of other things too, and they were so busy. They were touring during all this too. So these guys were just constantly working. So then they're like, okay, what are we going to do next? Right. So they kind of have an idea, and they're working on this song called The Amazing Pudding that they're saying, live, they're calling it The Amazing Pudding. And it's another long piece, kind of like Saucerful of Secrets or Careful with That Axe, Eugene. And it ends up basically being renamed Atom Heart Mother at some point. So they're coming off of this Umaguma plus the Zabriskie Point soundtrack, and they're going to go into like, okay, what are we going to do next? Maybe we'll add a choir and some strings. So that's kind of where we're at, and I'll leave it there, and I'll hand it over to Trannon at this point to kind of dive a little bit into Atom Heart Mother.
Yeah, with Atom Heart Mother, they I think it came off, it obviously followed the footsteps of Ummagumma, and you had the experimentation going on with Floyd during that time, and they brought in this very avant garde sort of composer named Ron Geeson, and he comes in and he's trying to work with them. They lay down this bass track, Amazing Pudding, and he comes over top of that. And I think what he did was brought something brilliant to the table. I absolutely love the Atom Heart Mother suite. Um, but Atom Heart Mother to me, well, I won't call it an underrated album because it went to number one in England, but I'll call it an undervalued album. I don't think many people listen to it as much as they would the other album we're going to be talking about. It's a little bit more of an eclectic feel, I think, than that album. And to me, it feels like a mourning album. It's almost as if Floyd has this sort of, I want to say, optimism in their music, even the way it sounds. It's more sunny, more relaxing, not as intense as Ummagumma. Um, so I really enjoyed Atom Heart Mother immediately when I first heard it. And, when we get into some of the tracks of Atom Heart Mother, It really, I mean, like all the songs off it. But I think I'll surprise you a little bit on the ones that I love compared to maybe the ones that most people love.
Okay. All right.
So
All right. It's funny because the band kind of, I agree with you with the underappreciated is the perfect word because the band kind of doesn't even appreciate it that much. Don't the band kind of puts it
true.
down a little bit. And I think it was because they felt like it was kind of rushed, like they had to rush through the basic tracks.
Yeah.
Um, and then the fact
Yeah,
that
they called it rubbish,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
And the fact that Ron Geeson contributed so much to that track, I think that kind of maybe I don't know. I find it very charming. Like there's something about the Adam Hart Mother Suite that's like it's charming. It's a little bit off kilter at times, but I love that feel of it, you
Yeah,
know?
I do too. It's very different. When I first heard it, I bought the CD and I wanted it because of the cover of the album with the cow. And I thought that's just so different.
It
You
is
don't
so
ever
weird,
see
right?
that. So I actually this past year went to Potter's Bar in England, and the field where that photo was taken is called it's at Kit's Inn Farm in right outside of Potter's Bar in Barnet, England. And I actually went to that field, and of course it's just a field, but I'm like, wow, I'm here at Adam Hart Mother. There were no cows there, unfortunately,
Wish a cow
but
had been there, man. Come on.
I do too. I wanted one to be there, but there weren't any cows. So, but it was just that moment of like, I'm here. This is something that I've always wanted to see. And of course, my wife's like, a field, she couldn't believe it. But
Like, what are we
yeah,
doing?
basically, yeah, that's what it was. Why are we all the way out here?
My wife would be the same way. What are we doing again? Why are we here?
She's like, is this like when we went to Grant Chester Meadows? And I'm like, yeah, kind of.
Kind of. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Just
yeah,
trying to
I
catch a little
really
of that
love
Floyd
that.
magic. That's all.
That's it. That's
Yep.
it. But yeah, the album just appealed to me immediately. The visuals, and I listened to Adam Hart Mother, and the way that I listened to it when I first heard it was on headphones, and I was lying in the floor just
Yeah.
listening, and that was amazing to me. The amazing pudding, that was definitely amazing to me, and I was just sold immediately. And then of course I listened to the second half too. So
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so that brings up all right, one last thing about the suite, and that is that Gilmour apparently said something about the main theme of dare 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 dare. He
yeah,
said something like the theme of an imaginary Western or something like that.
it does.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like a Western. It
It
kind
sounds like a 60s Western, like an epic sort of Western when it comes in like that with that. Look, my hands look like two balloons.
of
But, but yeah, it was so mind blowing. I've never heard anything like it. I'd heard the Moody Blues use orchestration in their music, but this was totally something different.
Yeah.
So I really appreciated it, especially like the ghostly sort of dramatic choir when it comes in and the
Yes.
cello and
Yeah, it's kind of
just,
bizarre, right? It's kind of weird,
yeah,
but it's
it really is. Yeah.
it's cool. And then
Incredible, I
yeah,
think.
it's cool. It's just it takes you on a journey, it takes you on a journey and it's pretty amazing. So what we talked about, you said you listened to the rest of the record. So let's that's a great transition into side two. So
Okay.
what's your take on side two?
Um, it begins with if and that soft acoustic feel. And to me, it's sort of like the reflective, tender part of Roger Waters that you never had heard before, or maybe never since until certain parts on the final cut, you
Or
know.
since that's right. I was gonna say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I, I was really taken by that, but I don't know I enjoy the song, don't get me wrong, but it's just my least favorite song from the album.
Okay.
It just doesn't match up to the other songs on the album for me. I know a lot of people think that it's the best song on the album, and that's, that's good. It's a great song, but
Yeah.
it's not my favorite.
Yep. Yep. So then
Um,
it goes into summer 68. Is that right?
Summer 68 to me is probably my second favorite song off the album.
Okay.
Um, that sort of nostalgic pop psychedelia, that Rick brought back. It seems like he was kind of going back to stuff like Remember a Day and Seesaw, but he added a little bit more prog to this.
Hmm.
And then when that orchestration comes in, at the end of the song, and it's just builds it up and builds it up. And I was just like, this is incredible. This is a masterpiece of a song. I don't really feel that it is now that I did at the time, but I think it's a great song. And like I said, it's my second favorite song because The Sweet is my favorite for sure off this album.
Yeah. Yeah. Rick Wright kills it on that. He
He
kills it.
does. He
Yeah.
does. And it's very progressive if you listen to it. I mean, it really is. It's everything he puts together. The composition of that song is really remarkable what he did. And, I know he looked back at some of his older material and wasn't so happy with it, but he was an incredible composer of music for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. He always incorporated those jazzy chords, he always had those jazzy piano chords, which is very unique for him, you know.
Exactly. And I
So
love that about him. He had his own unique sound, and you knew if you ever listened to his stuff, it was Rick Wright.
absolutely.
So good.
Absolutely. So how about Gilmour's contribution, Fat Old Son? What do you think of that?
That Old Sun used to be my favorite song off this album. I love it. I love the laid back feel. I love his falsetto sort of vocals, the way he did it, the acoustic strumming, and then the soaring guitar part. That's actually the first guitar solo I ever learned on guitar.
Oh, wow.
Um,
All
Very
right.
easy to learn that one, but it was just amazing. And if you ever want to hear the best version of that song, listen to Live and Gdansk.
Oh, yeah.
That is an incredible version. He is blistering solo on that one. But as far as this album is concerned, it's absolutely wonderful song. I sing that song probably more than any song off this album. Um, and that solo just always gets me as well. I love this song for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it fair to say that might be the first time that Dave kind of cuts loose a little bit on a
I
Floyd?
think it is. Yeah,
No?
I think that's where you get David Gilmour. You get the classic version of David Gilmour starting with Fat Old Son, and I think that's probably why still plays some of he still plays that song in some of his live
Yeah.
shows.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
enjoys it as well.
Oh yeah, I have the DVD of Remember the Night, which is the live the from On an
Oh yeah,
Island. Yeah, say Gdansk, I think is the same tour. And he does Fat Old Son on that too, and it's killer. It's really good.
yes,
Really good.
yes, it is. Now you're talking about the Remember That Night. Was that the one he made in 2001 or
Uh
2000?
oh God, I can't remember. It's the On an Island
Because he
tour.
did sort of, okay, that's
Yeah.
2006. Yeah, he did a sort of semi acoustic set back in 2001, and he did
Oh
Fat
yeah,
Old.
that's on DVD too. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's a good one
That's
too.
a good. Yeah, I don't have that one, but that's I've heard it's good. So I
Yeah,
don't
it really is.
I can't believe I don't have it. Come on, I'm kind of fan of
You should get it. Shame on you, Tom.
Come on. Ugh. Um, so yeah, so anyway, and then we get to the closing, which is Nick Mason's contribution, Alan's Psychedelic Breakfast.
Everybody loves to hate on this for some
Mhm.
reason. I absolutely love it. I love the way it starts. I love the sound collages, the noodling, the jolly piano, that
Yeah,
starts it.
yeah.
Um, I used to use this song every morning that my daughter, I would get her up and I would be making breakfast and I would be playing this song in there. So she knew it was breakfast time. Usually when she heard like Morning Glory kick in, where
Yeah,
the whole band comes in and starts playing. And I would
right.
always do that to her, marmalade. I like marmalade. So she really enjoyed that. I think it was a moment for her when I would do that. So yeah, this one I think it does have a unique presence on the album for sure because it's almost like a sound collage of the guy talk Alan, what was his name? Alan, he was the roadie,
Alan
Alan Stein.
Styles. Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So I think that was almost like a precursor to, in Dark Side when you hear all the voices in Dark Side.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I can sort of hear how that maybe influenced them going into the dark side of the moon like that. So,
Yeah.
but I really enjoy my favorite part of that is Morning Glory, where the band comes in
Yeah.
and it
Yep.
really kicks off there.
No, and I agree. I love the when that egg is sizzling and they put it in stereo and it's like you're just like you get hungry listening to that track.
Do you have we obviously have the vinyl. I know there used to be at the very end of the album, there was a rut, I think, in the very last part of the album where if you play it, it would just continue infinitely dripping, the sink dripping
You
over and
know,
over and over.
I think it still does that. I think it does that. Yes, because I
Yeah.
remember this turntable behind me actually automatically pulls up, but the other one I
Okay.
have doesn't. And when you play
Yeah.
it on that one, it'll drip. It'll just drip.
Yeah. Over and over.
It just keeps the drip
Yeah.
going. Yeah. So it's cool, man. I agree with you. I enjoy this track a lot. I think Alan Psychedelic Breakfast is it's fun. It's
It
like
is.
it's fun and it's like these little musical interludes and then you hear go back to Alan, he's still making his breakfast, he's got cornflakes, he's and he's trying to figure out what to eat. And it's like you said it earlier. I think your encapsulation of like Uma Guma was like darker kind of vibe, a little
Yeah.
this is a little darker, and it's version of kind of the same thing where they all take a track. This feels more like a little lighter, like you said, like a little more playful, a little lighter. Uh,
Yes.
and you said it was kind of like a morning album. I couldn't agree more. It's like you put it on in the morning, and it's like I don't know how maybe it has something to do with the psychedelic breakfast thing. I don't know, but it is kind of like it's a lighter, more playful experimentation. Maybe put it that
Perfect description.
way.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and
Yeah.
there's so much charm to this album. I don't know how to describe, put my finger on it, but there's this charm about it that's hard to articulate. But it's there. And it's like, there's a little bit of like kind of ricketiness to it, which I kind of like. Um,
Hmm.
I think as a listener, maybe as the makers, as the artists, they were like, yeah, this album, eh. But like, I listen to it and I go, yeah, I'm in. Like, I love this album. I think
Yeah.
it's great.
Two thumbs up.
Yeah, I'm in. I'm in. And I'm even, well, I mean, I don't want to give away the game. I'm just going to say, let's move on to the next record.
Let's do it.
Let's do it, man. Meddle, 1971. We're looking at An Ear Underwater. I remember for the longest time, I was like, what is that cover? What is that?
Yeah.
You
I
know?
had no idea for a long time.
Yeah. I just was like, what is it? It just looks like a design of some kind. I didn't, I mean, that looks like water a little bit on the back, obviously. But like,
In the beginning, I used to get that album confused with not the music on it, but the cover confused with Obscured by Clouds because
yeah,
they were both sort of bizarre. You
yeah.
couldn't really
Obscured
tell
by
what they
Cloud.
were.
I have it. Well, here. Here we go. Yeah, this one. I mean, this is like some sort of blurred picture of the movie or something, but it's like, what? I mean, that's a weird
Yeah,
cover. That's a
yeah,
weird,
definitely.
it's a strange cover, but we'll talk about this album at some other time.
I
Um,
love the deep blue of the metal album on the
yeah,
cover. That
yeah,
deep blue.
it's cool. Yeah, it's got that, and really, it's funny because there's points in echoes where it feels like it's underwater,
Yes.
And so that's when I kind of go, okay, this sort of works when you're listening to echoes. You look at that, or you especially look at that.
Hmm.
It's like, okay, I could see where the underwater theme is kind of happening here. But generally, what's your take on this record? When was the first time you heard this one? Were you pretty deep into Pink Floyd by the time you heard this, or
Yes, I actually, the first time I heard metal was when I purchased the Shine On box set. So I had listened to a lot of Floyd material up to that time. Metal, when I first I'd heard echoes before, but I'd never heard the entire album. And I'd heard, of course, One of These Days. They used to play that on the radio. So I recognized that right off the bat. But then it goes into Pillow of Winds and all those other songs. And I really enjoyed most of those songs as well.
Mhm.
I think this was where Floyd transitioned into what we would consider to be classic Pink Floyd. Definitely. It's fresh, it's original, it's sort of got like a variety of music.
Mhm.
You've got this hard rocker to start the album, and then it goes into this sort of mellow pastoral piece, and then you got a jaunty little jazz number, and just it's just got all kinds of variety on it.
Yes, yes, definitely. I mean, and I think this was their attempt to, like I said, continue the experimentation. Apparently, they were messing around with household objects or something. Like they were
Yes,
trying to make an album for just household objects and rubber bands and spoons and I guess they pursued that for a little while. I guess that's where the wine glasses came from for "Wish You Were Here."
it is. Yeah,
Yep.
the shine
Yep.
on one. Yeah.
Yep. But I guess the eventually the engineer was like, guys, okay, like we messed around for like 5 days with this. It's like going nowhere. Like, can we do something? Can we do something real here?
Stop.
Yeah, can we do something real? But it's there. I mean, it's kind of a cool idea. It's like somebody thought of that. Like, hey, let's try to make an
Yeah,
album without instruments. That's kind of, I mean, it's crazy. It's a crazy idea, but it's cool. Um, and anyway, so yeah, so this is like their next step in the experimentation. But like you said, in my opinion, this album is like really where things really start gelling. And
definitely.
why is that? Why are they gelling so much here? What do you think? What's your take on it?
Well, I think you hear a lot of that in Adam Hart Mother. Um,
Mhm.
in the suite of Adam Hart Mother, they have this section called Funky Dung, and it's just sort of this funk beat that they just go into, and it's almost like they're a broken record, playing it over and over and over and over. And you notice in Echoes, there's sort of that same sort of section that has that funky beat to it. And I think they were just, once they discovered that, yeah, we like this type of thing and this is how we should sound, and Gilmour's solo from from Fat Old Son, and
Yeah.
they really got into that sort of groove of knowing who they wanted to be.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that
Yep.
Metal just sort of was almost there. It's
Yeah.
like they're still a transitional album, but you can hear what Floyd's going to sound like in the next albums after Metal. Um, Even Obscured by Clouds, I would count that one, but
Sure.
definitely I'd Wish You Were Here, Animals. You know,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I'm with you. It's even, obscured by clouds, it's there as well. But you're right. I mean, I think they kind of realized what their strengths were and how they started to and this album, it kind of feels like they clicked on like, okay, these are our strengths. Roger's words, Dave's screaming guitar, Rick's jazzy chords. And then, like you said, they do that boom, down, down, and they're just locked in on
yeah.
that groove.
Yeah, and they bring that all the way through. I mean, you can hear that on the second song of the Division Bell, with What Do You Want From Me? You hear it on Have a Cigar, that
Yes,
sort of,
yes.
even Dark Side of the Moon with Time, that sort of thing.
No, you're right. They do. They had the and I'm telling you, I always say that like that Nick Mason and Roger Waters were kind of an underrated rhythm section. Like
Definitely.
they had like that groove, like you're talking about that groove. They'd hit that and it was like, ooh, they're like locked.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
then
very underrated.
then Gilmour on top of it, he's doing his like, oh man. So when it
You
hits
make me
that
want to
point,
listen to it now.
yeah, exactly. When it hits that point and echoes, because I was listening to it, getting ready for this in the car. I was commuting today for work, and I put on echoes and all the way to work, and it took me all the way to work, and I was in a great
Oh,
mood. My God, I love that track. That track is
yeah,
unbelievable.
it is. It is. I would say that song is probably it. It's so crazy because that song is usually my favorite Floyd song of all time. But then every once in a while, Dogs from Animals will take
Yeah,
first place. So
yes.
it
Yep.
goes back and forth between those two songs for some
Yeah.
reason.
That's funny. That's funny because you're right.
But
Sheep. Is it sheep for me? I might be sheep for me. I don't know.
yeah,
I don't dogs. I
yeah,
think sheep might win over dogs just for me personally. I don't know.
yeah, yeah. Dogs for me was, of course, we're going to get off on a tangent here talking
Yeah.
about that, but yeah, definitely, I think that Meddle brought Floyd into what you were saying. This is what we do,
Yeah. Yeah.
and from there, and then going through the tracks or whatever, like one of these days, and the way it starts, and then when the I call it the battle of the bass guitars,
Yes.
at
Yeah.
the beginning of it,
Yeah.
and it's just the coolest thing you could ever hear.
Yeah.
And then it just builds up and builds up and builds up, and then there's this breakdown in the song that sounds identical to the theme from Doctor Who.
It does.
And
It does.
it's crazy. And then the way it just blasts through, the that's probably the heaviest Floyd has been since the Nile song from Moore.
Right. Yes. That's great. Great comment. Very true. Very true. Yep.
Yeah, and I really love it.
Super ominous, man.
Blistering rock and roll.
Ominous. You know
Yes.
that
Yeah.
that wind starts with that wind sound. All of a sudden, it's like
Yes.
the echoed bass, like you said, the bass thing that Gilmour and Waters are both playing at the same time. It's
It's so cool.
yeah,
It's so cool. Nobody can do that.
yeah.
That's such Floyd,
It's a very Floyd thing. Yeah, absolutely. And then
Um,
Pillow of Winds is beautiful.
okay, so Pillow of Winds, if Echoes was not on Metal, this would be my favorite song.
Yeah, yeah,
But because Echoes is, of course, it is. Pillow of Winds to me is not just a sort of soft acoustic song, but if you really know your instruments and you really know what they're doing and the progressions and the chord progressions, and it's an amazing song the way they do it. And I love Gilmour's voice on this. It's just beautiful. I mean, there's no other way to describe it. Soothing. Um, and then you have that sort of slide guitar that he uses, and you hear that in the opening to Breathe. That sort of slide guitar he started playing, incorporates that into, and I think that again, when I'm talking about this being a transitional album, I think that's where Gilmour's like, okay, I really like the sound of what I do with the slide,
yeah.
and he incorporates that for the rest of his career in Floyd and solo projects as well.
Absolutely. No, you're right. He just all of a sudden that becomes one of the signatures. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Um, Moving on to Fearless, this is one of those songs where a lot of people claim it's their favorite song off the album, and I do understand why. I think that it's kind of unique the way that it's a straightforward sort of folk rock song, but it has this sort of ascending chord progression, like you're climbing.
Yes.
And then, of course,
Yes.
he comes in and he says, climbing,
Yes.
So
Yep.
and so he's talking, but the music is just, it's not just background music. It's almost like part of the lyrics,
Hmm.
how strange it is, or the concept of the song, I guess. And this is one of those songs where Floyd gets upbeat and motivational or inspirational, I guess you could say. The lyrics are very motivational, I think. And then of course the end of the song where the I think it's the Liverpool chant comes
Yeah.
in.
Yep.
I've always enjoyed this song. I've always enjoyed it. Um, not as much as Pillow of Winds, but I still, it's just a great song. If I'm feeling down, sometimes I'll put on Fearless.
Yep. 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 Yeah.
So
You say the hill's too steep to climb. I
that's
just
right.
love that. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm climbing it anyways.
That's right. That's right. I'm gonna climb that hill in my own way.
That's
It's a
right. I love it.
great lyric. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Um, what's next? Saint Tropez?
And Propay. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, to me, Saint Tropez is escapism. You
Hmm.
know, it's Roger being different, like he was with If. Not as introspective as If, but this is just more relaxed Roger.
Yeah.
Where he's singing. It's almost like you're on vacation with him, and he's singing to you.
So
You
true.
know,
Yeah.
yeah, like you're just sitting on the sofa with him, and he's just, playing and singing to you, and you're eating a peach.
Totally. Totally. Yeah.
But it's
It's so
care.
weird to have Roger so relaxed. You're like, this is weird.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
carefree, bouncy, very mellow. And I think this song's rather uplifting, even
Yeah.
though it's sort of escapist, it's still very uplifting, very relaxing. It's the Roger I would want to hang out with, you know,
Yes. Yes.
rather than, screaming at the wall.
Right. Right. Yep. And dealing with the worm, waiting for the worms or whatever.
Yeah, I don't want to wait for the worms with Roger. I don't want to experience the Fletcher Memorial Home.
No, I don't want to talk about the dad in the war and all that. I don't really.
Yeah, for
I mean, I'm
sure.
fascinated. I'm fascinated by the story, but I don't know if I'd want to hang
Yes.
out with him and talk about
Yeah. I'm not hung up on that one as much,
it.
but
Yeah.
yeah, I really enjoy Saint Tropez.
Yeah.
Um, Seamus. Okay.
Oh boy.
So
Here we go.
this is where most people can't stand this song. And I was one of those people
Hmm.
for a long time. But one day I was just listening to the song and I'm like, okay, I'll listen to Seamus, since Echoes is next. And I found myself laughing.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like they did it as a joke, but nobody got the joke.
Right.
But
Right.
there's some parts in that song, and the instrumentation by Gilmour is really good. If you,
Yeah.
if you really listen to it, it's really good blues track.
Country
But
blues. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
but there's one part where the howling dog gets so low. It's like a bass note, the dog's howling. And when he hit that note, I just burst out laughing out loud. And I was
Hmm.
like, I get it.
Yeah.
That was hilarious.
Yes.
So I don't have a disdain for Seamus anymore. It's not a song that I'm going to listen to over and over and over, but I get it, and I enjoy it for what it is.
Right. Right. And here's a fun fact. It's Steve Marriott's dog, the guy from Small Faces.
From Small Faces.
Yeah,
Okay.
small faces and humble pie. Steve Marriott. I
Oh
guess it's
yeah.
his dog that's yowling,
I
growling.
can enjoy some Small Faces.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that side one. I mean, it's interesting that it starts out, real heavy, like and ominous with one of these days, and the whole one of these days I'm gonna cut you into little pieces, and it's like, whoa, this is like super intense and kind of scary and weird and but a jam too. I mean, it's a jam. I mean, with like you said, Gilmour hitting those, like doing the slide stuff and really killing it on guitar. Um, and but like it's interesting that it follows up, like you said, with two acoustic songs. I mean, Pillow of Winds and Fearless are both kind of acoustic based. Um, so it's kind of interesting that it kind of starts that way and then moves to acoustic for those two songs. And then, the breezy Saint Tropez, like you said, very breezy and like kind of it's like weird, so weird for a Roger song. It's just bizarre, but I
Yeah.
but I enjoy
Very
it.
bizarre.
I enjoy it though. It's kind of cool to see a different side of him.
Yeah.
Um, and then, but like you said, it's Seamus, I am with you. It's like, it is what it's it's a joke. It kind of shows their sense of humor, which sometimes they didn't show a lot, just kind of laughing around like, hey, this is funny, let's record this.
Yeah.
Um, but it's kind of interesting that it made the record. I'm like, wow, this made the
Yeah.
album. Made the,
Yeah. It is
you know?
strange that
It's a
it
little
made the
weird.
record
It's
for
almost like it
sure.
could have been a B-side or something. Like put something else on the
Yeah.
record,
Yeah.
but
Well, you were talking about Saint Tropez, and I thought about back in, I think it was 69, they did a song called Biding My Time.
yes,
Sort
yes.
of has not necessarily upbeat jazzy feel, but more of um, a lower beat, I guess,
Yeah.
jazzy feel. So it's sort of, dun, 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 dun,
Yeah,
that kind of
yeah.
thing.
Yeah. It ended
But
up on
yeah,
Works, right?
yeah, it
Yeah.
was on Works.
Yeah.
But yeah, Saint Tropez is, I just enjoy it. I enjoy the song. It's
Yeah.
something I would listen to. Um, so
Yeah. When those
for sure.
guitars kick those "Ew, doo,
Yeah,
doo, doo," it's like it's
yeah,
just really it's like, wow, this is kind of a cool little jazzy song.
yeah.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's one of those songs like you would listen to while you're in the shower. You just dun, 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 dun.
It's exactly. It's like I had a little more shampoo on there.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, no, I'm with you. It's a great little track. So yeah, I mean, but Echoes dominates the record. There's no
Oh
question.
gosh.
Echoes dominates it. I mean, it's impossible for it not to.
Yes.
And I have to say before I forget, this is one of those before I forget things, that this started out as I was going to mention this after the household objects thing, is that they started out, they didn't know what to do, so they started doing all these nothings, what they called nothing, like nothing one, nothing two, nothing three, nothing four, or whatever, and then it called like Son of Nothing, and then the Return of Son of Nothing, and then it became Echoes. So
Yes.
so you're thinking that maybe nothing one was the Leslie, the piano through the Leslie, with the bing, it
Yes.
sounds like a submarine or something. And so that's nothing one, and then nothing two could be like the actual song, where it kind of kicks in with the, you know, overhead the albatross hangs motionless, blah 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 blah.
That's it.
That's
Yeah.
like
So it did start with all those pieces, as you were saying. And again, that sort of shows Floyd's sense of humor. Nothing, son of nothing, return of the son of nothing.
right, right.
Sort of like they were just trying to put together stuff. That was my British wife, by the way, that just left that nobody saw. But
Oh, okay. I
I
was
can
gonna,
assure you she's very lovely.
I was gonna
So,
say if she's still there, tell her I said hi, but she left.
um, yeah, she's going to her exercise class. But yeah, I mean, to me, it's the quintessential Pink Floyd song. It's
Yeah.
got everything. It's got the philosophical lyrics. It's got the funky part of Floyd, the psychedelic part of Floyd, the experimental part of Floyd, um, the progressive part of Floyd.
Hmm.
Uh, Everything is in this one song, and it takes you on such a journey that it's very apprehensive at first, and then it's sort of mellow, and it just brings you into this comfort zone, so to speak. And
Yep.
you get into this funky part where you're
Funky.
really
Yep.
enjoying that. Then the crazy, I sort of sounds like parts of Adam Hart Mother,
Hmm.
the Mind Your Throats Please parts of Adam Hart Mother,
Yes.
where you
Yes.
get all that odd squealing going on there.
Right.
Uh, what do you think that was, like a dolphin type sound they were trying to?
It's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like dolphins or whales or something like
Yeah.
underneath the water. I think what happened was I thought I read about this that Gilmour was somehow his wah got plugged in the wrong way or something, or Rhodey did it wrong, and out came this huge squeal, this, you know,
Oh
and
wow,
so I guess he was able to start controlling that sound, and then that was kind of how that whole,
that's
like,
amazing.
and he does
How
it on
how
the
that
wall
happened?
too. If you listen to the wall, you'll hear it.
Yes,
You know,
yeah. What song is that he does that
is
on the
there
wall?
anybody out there?
Out there. Yeah,
Yeah, totally.
I love that. That's again, that's part of Floyd. That's
Mhm.
their thing. So
Yeah.
they were so experimental, and with Echoes it's that. And to me also, Echoes is like the precursor to Dark Side of the Moon. It's the
Yeah. Oh yeah.
precursor.
Oh yeah.
everything Floyd's going to sound like later on.
Yeah.
But they put it in this 120 something odd minute track, and it's just mind blowing. The first time I heard it, I had to listen to it again and again and again. And of course, that's going to take a while.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just enjoyed it so much, and I was just like, this is the pinnacle of who they are
Yes.
on this album for sure.
Yeah. No, I remember in your ranking you said for echoes alone, that's why this is where it is.
That's
Echoes.
exactly right.
And you're right. I mean, that's what everyone would say. It's like Echoes is just so
Yeah.
epic, it's so amazing, and it's so, like you said, it's really the pinnacle of everything that they've gone to up to is going to goes to Echoes. Like everything's like ring to Echoes, and then from Echoes it just goes like out. Like then it's like then they go nuts, crazy. I think your mic died or something, or it went off or something.
Now,
There we go. There we go.
okay.
You're back.
Well, if it goes off, I'll just pull the plug and use the phone.
Okay, got it. All right, but yeah. So anyway, so yeah, Echoes is unbelievable, and I really do think this last thing I was going to say about these two records in particular, like you said, because there's little things in Adam Heart Mother that are like you said that are kind of showing where they're going to go. Um, but I would say
But I
that
would say that
maybe Dave
maybe Dave.
Gilmour. Oh, now we're getting an echo a little bit. Oh, there we go.
That,
That's better. There we go. I would say that. Maybe Dave Gilmour actually has some his confidence level is up. Like Dave is really asserting himself by this point. Is that
definitely.
do you think that?
I think so. I
Yeah.
think he feels very comfortable in his own skin at this point.
Yeah. 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 He's earned his stripes by this point. Like he's like, I'm gonna start jumping in and putting in ideas and I think that really helps the band a lot. So but yeah, so that's I mean, I'd say, we've hit these albums pretty well. I mean, the what if it really comes down to it, Trannon, I mean, you're well versed in Pink Floyd, so if it really came down between, and it's not easy, no, these battles are never easy, right? So when it comes down to it, these are both albums that we love. But if it came down to it and you had these two records, if you had to choose, you have to choose, which one would you go with?
So let me ask you this before I choose.
Okay.
Does that mean the other one's not made?
Is that- I don't think anyone's ever asked me that. That's a good one. No, no, it's still there. It's still there.
Okay. Um, I'm gonna go with Adam Hart Mother.
Oh,
And this one is,
wow.
yeah, I know it's not the popular choice, but
Yeah, I like it though.
me, Adam Hart Mother, whereas Echoes is on Meddle, obviously, and that's one of my favorite songs. Adam Hart Mother is also one of my favorite songs,
Right.
but I feel like Adam Hart Mother with Summer 68 and Fat Old Son, just a little bit more powerful to me than the other stuff on Meddle, except for maybe One of These Days, but which is mostly just an instrumental piece.
Right. Right.
But I really enjoyed everything on Adam Hart Mother and on Meddle. I think with Seamus and I mean, I enjoyed Saint Tropez, but I just don't like it as good as I do, say, Fat Old Son or Summer 68.
Right.
I
Right.
think If is stronger than Seamus. So
Mhm.
I'm going to go with Adam Hart Mother.
Okay. All right, man. All right. I mean, I can't argue with that. Cannot argue with that because I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with Metal. But I'm
All
telling
right.
you, but I'm telling you, it's very close. I say this all the time, but it is. It's like literally like a smidge, because
Yes.
it's funny how you said you liked kind of like Fat Old Son and Summer '68. For me, it's Pillow of Winds and Fearless. I love Fearless, so
Totally.
it's like Pillow of Winds and Fearless. I love to death. So I mean, not only do I love Echoes, but I love those two songs as well. So it's just the highs on this one kind of outdo a little bit the Adam Hart Mother. But I'm
Can't
telling you,
disagree. I can't disagree.
but It's extremely close, and I'm telling you that probably wouldn't have been this close a couple years ago. Like I've this album has really grown on me a lot. Like as time, for some reason, it's just grower. It's like it's been getting better and better every time I listen to it. So I can't I mean I there's no wrong answer here. We're just both, I mean it's I'm believe we're talking about like
Yes.
mid.
You may ask me tomorrow, and I would say Meddle.
Exactly. That's like I could say the same thing. Ask me next week and I'll say, "Oh, Adam Hart Mother." So
Yeah,
it's really just kind of it's crazy. Those are two great records, and I think we both feel that way. So,
sure.
um, yeah,
I'm just glad that you said that one of them wouldn't go away.
yeah. No, they're always going to be there. Always going to be there. You can always go back and say, "Oh, Metal, I still love you."
Yes, that made it a little easier because if you were going to say that, I was going to be like, I cannot get away from echoes, you know.
Yeah, exactly. So, so yeah. So anyway, so that's, I mean, I'd say, oh, the other thing I was going to mention, and we have to mention this before we go, and that is Luck and Strange, David Gilmour's most recent solo record, was just released. So this album or this video is very timely. It was literally just released. Have you heard any tracks from it yet?
Yes, I've listened to the album. I do enjoy several songs off the album. It's different. It's way
Yeah,
different than a
very
lot of Gilmour.
mellow. Very mellow.
Um, but I think my favorite song off that one so far, I'll probably listen to it way many more times. But I think Piper's Call is
Yeah,
my favorite one so far
yeah,
off of
yeah.
that.
Piper's Call and Scattered, I think, is another one that I liked quite a bit.
Yeah,
Um,
I enjoy most of the album, but that one really, I really enjoyed that one for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. No, it's so yeah, so that's very timely with a new Pink Floyd related product just hit the market. So yeah, maybe we'll do another video on David Gilmour do talking about the new record. So anyway, but who knows? We'll talk about that later. But if you stayed with us this song, we really appreciate it. We hope, what do you guys think? I mean, what's your take? What do you like Adam Hart Mother Sweet better than Echoes? Do you think Trannon's crazy? Do you think I'm crazy? Just let us know. We can take it. We're grown men. We can take it.
I think you might
Um,
win this one, Tom.
yeah, let's not open that door, man. Come on, don't do that. Don't do that to me, man. All right. So anyway, so please like and subscribe if you like what you see. It helps the channel. Like, hit the like button, hit subscribe. You have up, thumbs down, thumbs up. And again, Trannon, thank you so much for coming on the channel. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Tom. I really appreciate it. It's been wonderful, and I hope we get to do it again.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. You did a great job. It was really fun.
Thank you.
So yes, we will. But thanks again, everybody. We appreciate it. And we'll see you next time on Curless Mania. Take care. Bye.